KCCA issues a vaccination plan for teachers within Kampala. Now, this comes after students are waiting to go back to school amidst the pandemic. We have the story in our bulletin today. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Nahabu Kajura, but first are the headlines. Museveni appoints former Minister Lokodo Crispin Kaheru to Human Rights Commission. KCCA issues a vaccination plan for teachers within Kampala. High hopes as Zambia prepares to swear in Hakainde Hichilema. And in our sports today, Kasozi goes a wolf from Uganda Cranes camp. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. In Africa Today starts with one of our top stories. President Museveni has appointed former Ethics and Integrity Minister Father Simon Lokodo as a commissioner for the Uganda Human Rights Commission. Now, Lokodo was in June dropped as minister, and the latest appointment is a sigh of relief for him. We have more on this report.
Also appointed as commissioners are former coordinator for Citizens Coalition for Electoral Democracy in Uganda, Crispin Kaheru, former Kampala Woman MP and opposition politician Shifra Lukwago, and Jackie Atuheire. Some names and that of Mariam Wanga have since been sent to Parliament for voting on Wednesday by the Parliamentary Appointments Committee. A notice by the new clerk to Parliament, Adolphe Mwesigwa, dated August 23, 2021, said that the Appointments Committee is scheduled to interact with these presidential nominees on Wednesday, August 25, 2021, at 10 a.m. in the Conference Hall, Parliament House. Established under the 1995 Constitution, the Uganda Human Rights Commission is a government body mandated to monitor and advance human rights in the country. Several positions of commissioners have for many years been vacant, and the new appointments come at the right time.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now moving on, Kampala Capital City Authority has made arrangements to have teachers and support staff in education institutes in Kampala schools, both public and private, vaccinated against COVID-19. Now this comes as the government emphasizes that the vaccination of teachers, support staff working in schools and learners above age of 18 years will be key in reopening schools. Take a look at the story.
Juliet Namudu Nambi, the Director, Education and Social Services at KCCA, said in a statement that they are working with the Directorate of Public Health and Environment and the Directorate of Administration and Human Resource to ensure that the categories mentioned get vaccinated. The vaccination centers are Bati Valley Primary School, Kitante Primary School, Namirembe Infant Primary School, Busega Primary School, St. Peter's in Zambia Primary School, St. Denis Sebugwao SS, Kiswa Primary School, Ntinda Primary School, Makerere University Primary School, and St. Peter's Kanyanya Primary School. Nambi said that the guidance from the Directorate of Public Health and Environment is that these schools will be vaccination centers for teachers and support staff who are getting the first dose of the vaccine, adding that those who are due for the second dose should go to the health centers in the city. According to Nambi, Phase 1 of the vaccination will start on Wednesday, August 25th, 2021 and end on Saturday, August 28th, 2021.
Moving on in our local stories, NRM members of parliament hailing from Kasese have asked court to speed up the trial of the King of Rwenzururu Kingdom, Charles Wesley Mumbere, and his royal guards to avoid despair and uncertainty amongst the affected persons. We have more on this report.
Addressing members of the media at Parliament on Monday morning, the members of Parliament Sowedi Kitanywa of Busongora North, Ferigo Kambale of Kasese Municipality and Gideon Tembo Mujungu of Busongora South said the delayed trial of their king and the royal guards does not only infringe on their rights but also affects the development of the cultural institution. In November 2016, the army and Uganda police raided the palace of the Omsinga in Kasese, killing hundreds of people. They arrested Charles Wesley Mumbere and several royal guards. In the lead-up to the 2021 elections, court released 132 royal guards. The legislators also wanted court to give bail to the remaining 78 royal guards who are still in incarceration. They said 9 guards have since died in prison. The members of parliament said the court should relax the stringent bail conditions imposed on Mumbere and the former prime minister. Mumbere can only go to Kasese with the permission of court. The members of parliament asked government to consider the reconstruction of the Rwenzururu palace that was destroyed during the attack in 2016.
Thank you so much, our reporter. Now let's go for a quick break, and in more to come, we'll bring you Zambia as they prepare to swear in the opposition leader, Hakainde Hichilema. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, The Right to Know. In an international news today, veteran opposition leader Hakainde Hichilema will be sworn in as the 7th president of Zambia on Tuesday after getting more than 2.8 million votes to President Edgar Lungu's 1.8 million votes, achieving one of the biggest electoral wins in the country's history. Now, Zambians in the capital, Lusaka, spoke of their desire for change on Monday as the Southern African country prepares to swear in a new president following elections on August 12th. We have more on this report.
Hichilema, a 59-year-old businessman contesting the presidency for the 6th time, promised democratic reforms, investor-friendly economic policies, better debt management, as well as zero tolerance to corruption. Reginald Ntomba, a political analyst, told journalists that while Lungu's outgoing government embarked on large infrastructure projects, the spending resulted in a huge increase in the country's foreign debt portfolio from around $2 billion to over $12 billion. The opposition leader's win was backed by young people with enormous expectations among its supporters for the incoming president to drive change and create more economic opportunities. In the capital, Lusaka, street food vendor Memories Zuru echoed this, complaining of the high value of the dollar and speaking of her desire for change. Zambia recorded economic progress for more than a decade and achieved middle-income status in 2011, but now the country is beset by high inflation, high debt, and allegations of corruption. Zambia has established a reputation as one of Africa's stable democracies, with regular elections and peaceful transfers of power since the founding president, the late Kenneth Kaunda, introduced multi-party democracy and subsequently accepted defeat in 1991. However, fears of a reversal of those gains emerged recently as Lungu closed some media houses and detained critics.
Thank you so much, reporter. Now let's turn your attention to the corruption trial in Mozambique. Now, the trial of the hidden debt, one of the biggest corruption scandals in Mozambique, which has plunged the country into a serious financial crisis and is embarrassing even the top of the state, opened on Monday in a Maputo prison.
19 people accused of blackmail, forgery, embezzlement and money laundering for amounts of 7 million euros are to be heard in the hearings scheduled over nearly 2 months. Among them is the son of former President Armando Guebuza, Ndambi Guebuza. Wrapped up in a court, he was present like all the other defendants at the hearing, which opened early this morning in a makeshift court, a tent set up in the Machava High Security Prison, where he has been held in pre-trial detention for 2.5 years. The country's courts were deemed too small to accommodate the dozens of lawyers, witnesses and 250 journalists accredited to follow the case. Between 2013 and 2014, 3 Mozambican state-owned companies, Prondicas, Ematom and MAM, took out 1.76 billion in loans, including from Credit Suisse and the Russian bank VTB, to finance maritime surveillance, fishing and shipyard projects. This operation is said to have covered up a vast enterprise of corruption for the benefit of people close to the government. Ndambi Guebuza is suspected of having acted as a facilitator for his father, the president. Also among the accused is the former head of the security services, Gregorio Leo.
Moving on in our international news today, concern in mounting over freedoms in Tunisia as President Kais Saied presses ahead with a purge that has seen politicians, judges and businessmen arrested or banned from travel, according to activists.
On July 25th, President Kais Saied sacked the government and suspended parliament for 1 month, citing powers he says were granted by the constitution, but he has yet to reveal a roadmap for his decisions despite repeated demands by political parties. Saied's shock move has sparked uncertainties for Tunisia, where the Arab Spring began a decade ago, setting in motion pro-democracy revolts that unseated autocratic leaders. Tunisia, hailed as a rare democratic success story in Middle East and North Africa, is mired in political crisis compounded by dire economic woes and the COVID-19 pandemic. Several politicians, businessmen and judges, as well as members of parliament who lost their immunity after Saied suspended the legislature, have said they were banned from traveling abroad or put under house arrest without prior warning. Their claims have sparked a chorus of condemnation, with critics denouncing arbitrary and unjustified measures. But Saied offered a stiff response to his critics during a recent visit to the Tunis Carthage International Airport, when he said that the freedom to travel is a constitutional right, which he promises to guarantee.
Moving on the Ghanaian coast, where many of the slaves set off their journeys of no return, the so-called slave castles are a vivid reminder of the barbarity of the practice. Now, in 1997, UNESCO established 23rd August as an international day for the remembrance of the slave trade and its abolition. Now, the day was inspired by events of the night of August 22nd to 23rd in 1791. We have one.
On this night, men and women torn from Africa and sold into slavery revolted against the slave system in present-day Haiti and the Dominican Republic, demanding freedom and independence. The uprising set forth events that eventually led to the abolition of the slave trade. Haiti's independence in 1804 is also the only one born out of a successful slave uprising. The day aims to memorize millions of people who were the victims of the transatlantic slave trade, one of the most frightening chapters in the history of humankind. Each year, the UN invites people all over the world, including educators, students, and artists, to organize events that center on the theme of this day. UNESCO Director General Audrey Azoulay, in a statement, said that once and for all, it is time to abolish human exploitation and to recognize the equal and unconditional dignity of each and every individual on earth.
Thank you so much, our reporter. Let's go for a quick break. We come back with our business news. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. Now, in the business news today, we turn your attention to Uganda Airlines that is close to finalizing bilateral agreements with different partner airlines to enhance its operations. Now, according to Uganda Airlines Chief Executive Officer Jennifer Bamturachi, this joint venture will improve the airline amid the headwinds presented by the global health crisis. We have more on this report.
Uganda Airlines Chief Executive Officer Jennifer Bamturachi disclosed this shortly after the national carrier acquired the air operator certificate for its Airbus A330-800 neo aircraft from the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority after proving beyond reasonable doubt that they have systems in place to facilitate operation of this particular aircraft. The air operator certificate is the approval granted by Uganda Civil Aviation Authority to an aircraft operator to allow the use of an aircraft type for commercial purposes. Uganda Civil Aviation Authority is required by international standards to check the operator, the method of supervision of flight operations, maintenance arrangements, among others, before issuing out an air operator certificate. Bamturachi explained that they are putting in place systems to make Uganda Airline competitive. Fred Byamukama, the State Minister for Transport, who officiated over the handover ceremony of the air operator certificate, indicated that the successful inclusion of the Airbus on the Uganda air operator certificate will pave way for long operation. The Acting Director General, Uganda Civil Aviation Authority, Fred Bamwesije, applauded the team on the successful completion of process of adding the Airbus onto the AOC.
Away from business, in our health news today, officials in Kenya arrived at Jomo Kenyatta Airport in Nairobi on Monday to see the first donated doses of Moderna vaccines from the United States arrive, the first time the vaccine was received in the East African country. Take a look at the story.
Principal Secretary at Kenya's Ministry of Health, Susan Mochache, said that 880,460 doses were delivered, adding that the shipment is the first of 1.76 million doses donated by the U.S. government through the COVAX facility. Eric Nidler from the U.S. Embassy in Kenya said they were the same Moderna vaccines being used to vaccinate Americans in the U.S. The Moderna doses are said to boost Kenya's ongoing nationwide vaccination exercise, supporting the government's quest to get at least 10 million adult population vaccinated by December 25th. Mochache also announced the increase of vaccination centers from the current 800 to 3,000 to offer one specific type of vaccine. She explained that they plan to allocate one vaccine type to each vaccination post and do not want to have a cross mix of vaccines within facilities, so that those designated to offer Pfizer will offer Pfizer, those designated to offer Moderna or AstraZeneca will do so to enable people to choose which post to be vaccinated at. Approximately 2.9% of the adult population in Kenya has since been fully vaccinated.
In our sports news today, Old Habits Die Hard is a saying that benefits Nicholas Kasozi's youth football career so far. Now the midfielder, synonymous with disappearing without trace while at KCCA and Chetume FC, has again gone missing from the Uganda Cranes camp. We have more on this report.
The Chetume Football Club midfielder missed training on Monday, unlike the injured Patrick Kadu and Alionzi Nafian, who had light drills at the MTN Omondi Stadium. He was a no-show. TV Africa understands that Kasozi went away without official leave from the residential camp in Kisasi on Sunday and didn't return. On Sunday, the former Synergy and Sports Club Villa high-rated midfielder sat out training, complaining of stomachache, and thus left camp to receive treatment, despite the national team having a medical team on ground. Unconfirmed reports indicate that Kasozi left camp mainly to sign with league champions Express Football Club, who are chasing his signature. Unless otherwise, his chance of playing against Kenya in the FIFA World Cup qualifiers are all but done. Kasozi last featured for Uganda Cranes in 2019 and was among few players recalled by new coach Milton Micho-Srejovic as he began his second stint with Uganda.
Thank you so much, our reporter. Now, before we end our bulletin, let's have a recap of our top stories. Museveni appoints former Minister Lokodo Crispin Kaheru to Human Rights Commission. KCCA issues a vaccination plan for teachers within Kampala. High hopes as Zambia prepares to swear in Hakainde Hichilema. And in our sports today, Kasozi goes a wolf from Uganda Cranes camp. Thank you so much for being a loyal audience from where we started from. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the bright to know.